You can't give what you don't have. When you are talking about integrity, you are really talking about the real person, who that person is.
When you talk of integrity, you talk of honesty. To be honest. And to be honest means to be trustworthy, to be truthful. And politics is science and art of government.
Politics is about the people.
Yes.
And if you talk about it in a deeper sense, it has to do with how people take decision on how to lead themselves.
Viewers, we welcome you once again to another interesting episode of Christians in Politics, coming to you in Anglican Cable Network, Nigeria. We're happy to know that you are there. And today's topic will be interesting. The long-awaited Ekiti governorship election has come and gone, and with so many stories left behind for Nigerians to continue to tell and crack. And today we want to look at post-mortem on Ekiti election and its implications. And when we say its implication, that has direct bearing to 2019 general election, which is also around the corner. So with me in the studio to discuss this topic, post-mortem on Ekiti election and its implication, are Mr. Chukwu Ebuka Ejikam. He's a social affair commentator and an epidemiologist by training. He's here with us. Ejikam, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
You're
welcome.
We also have in the studio Reverend Canon Simon. He's also one of our regular customers in this very studio, and a social affair commentator too is here with us live.
Thank you,
Smart.
sir.
You're welcome. I
Good
like
morning,
this
viewers.
your
Yeah.
your attire today, especially the cap.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for coming. Like as I said, we are looking at post-mortem on Ekiti election. The election has come and gone. Ejika, let me start with you. What can you say about the election generally?
Thank you once again, our able host. For me, I would say it's politically it lived up to its billing. It was much anticipated. There were going to be some drama, some last-minute political abracadabra, if I'll use that word. If you remember at the ground campaign rally of many of the parties, there were defections here and there.
I like that word abracadabra. The more you look, the less you see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so politics is always like that. So it lived up to its billing. But by and large, if I will evaluate it, I think there are some grave implications like we are trying to look at today for our democracy going forward. Because one would have thought that 18 years after our return to civil rule, we would have left Egypt, so to say. But we've seen incidences of both vote buying, even on a minimal scale anyway, ballot box snatching. And then these are issues that democracy does not give you the leeway to do if you want to practice real democracy. I would say that we are in a democracy, but we don't have enough Democrats. Because it takes Democrats to practice democracy. But we are seeing that our politicians are still to their old pristine way of doing things, thinking that I've got to win at all costs. So Ekiti election is a litmus text for 2019. And with all the stories we're hearing here and there, I don't think it's a good omen for our democracy going forward. Some people have lost, some people have won. Let's leave politicians now to tidy their own end. But for the entrenchment and institutionalization of democracy in our country, which to man is still the best form of organized government that we've known to know, then our country is not on the right track with what has happened in Ekiti, in my own assessment.
Okay, Reverend Canon.
Yes, sir.
looking at Ekiti election from the perspective of a layman who was in the distance watching, can you say democracy is making progress?
Democracy is not making progress at all. Because for me, what happened in Ekiti on Saturday was perversion of democracy or electioneering process in Nigeria. Because in a situation where we go into election as if we're going into war, the amount of security personnel deployed in Ekiti alone, if half of those security personnel will be deployed in some of these places where there are problems, a lot of these killings will not have happened. It means there is no priority for human lives. The priority in the Ekiti election was, whether they like it or not, the government that is ruling must win Ekiti. It was a do or die affair.
Now, just hold it there. I may come back to you. I want us, since you have already raised the issue of security and the, if we use the word militarization of politics that should played out in the Ekiti, I want us to listen to one of a frontline APC senator and a leader in this country, what he said about the deployment to Ekiti. Let's play that video, then we'll continue after that.
Yes, sir.
That will use public funds and galvanize 30,000 policemen to supervise an election in Ekiti, while they could not mobilize 10,000 people to stop the killing in Zamfara and other places. Is this Senate in a position to say that what is being done is that our party, the APC that I represent, sir, we frown at this? It's not part of our manifesto, it's not part of what we promised the people, and I'm sure that the president himself knows that this is not acceptable in the situation, but unfortunately the police has already conditioned itself to that kind of services, korokoro eye services. In our commitment, sir, to continue to endure and tell the Nigerian people that we will live by our promise, that is why we are before you asking for the reform. Let there not be a situation where the killings will be happening, we will not have 10,000 police, and an election is going, we have 30,000 policemen. I don't like that situation. I abhor it, and I think that that does not represent what we stand for as a party, and therefore we will seek the indulgence of my colleagues to reform this institution that is called the Nigerian police.
That was Senator Ibn Naala, and he represents APC. I think is the deputy majority leader in the Senate. Now, he was very frank, very direct to the point, and he says that is not what APC stands for. That is not what the manifesto of APC suggests. But it's like the police have conditioned themselves to that kind of service.
Yes.
So we were talking about killings going on all over the country, and no enough policemen to handle it, but just for one state. Now, can you continue from where you stopped?
When you have such number of security personnel,
okay, now,
for example,
wait, that's what I want to.
From
do you
the
have
record I have,
other information on other deployment?
Yes.
The Hope for Nigeria gave us the record of the security personnel
that were deployed.
In Ekiti. It was excessive deployment of security. They said there was 6 helicopters, 250 police patrol vehicles, 30,000 policemen, as we've heard, 5 army generals, 6 police AIG, 300 DSS officers, 35,000 military officers, 65 military vehicles, 165 armored personnel carrier vehicles, 15,000 civil defense officers. Now,
for one election.
For one election.
In a small state like Ekiti.
For me, the implication of this excessive deployment is that it will intimidate voters. And from the record we have, about 900 and some figures were the registered voters. About 400 and some figures were the only one that came for voting across board in all the parties. Meaning that the presence of the security personnel intimidated so many people and they stay away. They didn't come out. Of course, those who were able to come out, we could see that there were some arrests here and there, there were shooting here and there, and all that.
And even the event at the eve of the election. How the major opposition party rally was dispersed with guns and tear gas.
Even
that
the
governor,
the governor was crying that at a point, some people say he was acting, but we saw evidence that he was not in his full state of health, that he was tear gassed. And remember that on the eve of the election, there were last minute attempts to arrest many of the PDP stalwarts. They are big party stalwarts, even the state PDP chairman. And these arrests were one-sided. And so when you look at it, it tells you that sometimes our security institutions, it will appear as if they become compromised. They are partisan. They are working at the behest of the government at the center. And these things have grave implications for democracy. My friend, the Reverend Gentleman, was talking about the fact that people did not come out en masse. Almost half the total number of registered voters in Ekiti did not come out.
No, serious voter apathy, so it was clear.
It was clear. And these are the things that happen when you militarize a purely civil process. Election is not a war situation. It's a purely civil affair. Then why deploy such massive number of police people? It will discourage people. And people will tell you, why go out there when there are chances that things might go berserk and then I lose my life? So these are issues for our democracy. Democracy, like I said, is supposed to be practiced by Democrats. Sometimes you lose, sometimes we win. And until our politicians imbibe that culture, we continue going through vicious circle. And my agony is that Nigeria at the end of the day suffers.
Now, is it, when you look at the conduct of the electorates, in fact, in most of the elections that have been done so far, is it in Edo, is it in Anambra? I was personally on ground in Anambra State to observe the election from the beginning to the end. I have never seen such a peaceful election before. And even with the threat by IPOB, the election was so extremely peaceful. Every person went about his or her business and went home without raising a finger. This deployment, is it justified? Or is it with other motives?
Yeah, you begin to suspect that it's with other motives. Because if you remember, someone was trying to do the analysis. If you multiply the number of policemen that were allegedly deployed, the 30,000 that we're talking about, with the number of polling units that we have, you will get to discover that almost half. And then when you juxtapose that with the number of policemen that were stationed in those police units on that 14th election day, you begin to wonder where went almost half the number of police people that were deployed. Where did they go to?
Yeah, that raises a question. Somebody was saying he was on ground. I think Election Monitor, the head of Election Monitor, he was saying that in the election situation room that from what he saw on ground, he began to wonder where. Okay, there's a caller. Satmon is calling in from Edo State.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Yeah, I want to make my comment on the security because we are talking about politics. And yes, the election has come, and I believe it has come and gone. And we are looking forward to 2019 election. But my major concern is, with the security situation we have at hand in Nigeria now, drawing your attention to what just took place in Edo State, precisely Sabogida, Ora, where 4 police officers were, they moved down to a particular place where they always block road. They are known for that particular area where they block roads. And they just get to the place, jumping out of their car to mount their roadblock. People came out of the bush, gunned them down, put them in their van, and burned them and the vehicle. And looking at that one can easily relate it to what took place in Abuja, where 7 police officers were gunned down. That's no robbery. That is a serious terrorist attack. It's a serious terrorist attack. That's what has again now replicated itself in Edo State, targeting security officers. And we can also see that the IG just came out. What we are hearing from our security now is the security that we are paid actually to defend Nigeria are now turning around to tell us, oh, they are ready even to pay us to give information. So my concern is, where are we actually going? And again, quoting Lai Mohammed in TVC this morning,
yes,
Lai Mohammed is telling us that in TVC this morning, on live program, that, oh, the journalists are even the problem of Nigeria now, that they are overblowing the security situation we have in our country today. So I can't really relate it, what this government is doing about the security. Is the security of lives and property is what I don't think people should be playing politics with. And I think that this present government is doing that too much, playing politics with security, with situation we have at hand in Nigeria. Now, they are playing politics with it too much on the high side. The way they are playing politics with it is on the high side. So, to me, it's a major concern that should draw Nigeria's attention. Because without secure Nigeria, 2019 election is zero.
Thank you. Thank you. We thank you for calling in. And it was good to hear from about what is happening in those states. The security concern in this country is really becoming something. As you can hear the story from those states, how 4 policemen were gunned down and their dead bodies were put in their van and set ablaze. I mean, it's a horrible experience. And no one really feels secure again if the police is not the one offering money to the public to help them. Fish out the perpetrator of crime, when they were the one we're supposed to run to say, help us fish out who is doing this. It's really becoming a sad experience. And I think the IG need to pay attention to those states. The governor need to wake up before it is turned to another Benue, before Edo State is turned to Kaduna or Zamfara or Sokoto. They need to pay attention, because so many, in fact, yesterday there was a program in AIT which chronicled all the activities of all these killer herdsmen in the South. And they also highlighted the number of killings, ravaging, how they are ravaging the whole of Edo, Delta State, Rivers, and all those coastal states. It was on AIT last night, full details of what has been happening.
87 villages I learned in Plateau.
So it's a concern why we are approaching 2019. Now let's go back, because it was the issue of security that caller from Edo State, Satmon, raised, and its implication for 2019. Now, Ekiti has come and gone, and many people are saying that they blame Fayose for whatever happened in Ekiti. Do you share that opinion?
Well, politicians will always be politicians. For me, let the process be credible. But politicians will always catch at every straw.
Somebody said, let me be modest. Somebody said he blamed Fayose. He was talking too much. That is why the government decided to make sure that they take over Ekiti.
It's even more dangerous when he keeps silence. The only thing that will make evil to triumph in any society is when good men keep silent. So that we have voices of dissent in a democracy is not necessarily
it's supposed
bad.
to be a plus.
It's a plus in itself, because what happens when everybody stays silent is that the government at the center stays docile, and they think but when you are receiving push and knocks here and there, it makes you to reevaluate your programs. I'm not giving to the whims and caprices of politicians, because they will always be politicians. They will catch at every straw to make political gain. But for me, opposition in a democracy, let's remember that this ruling party was once in opposition. I don't know if we remember some years back and all the issues, all the knocks they were giving to the then PDP government. I'm not a politician, I'm not in any party, but these are issues we've observed in this country. So when you're also receiving voices of dissent, evaluate it. Ekiti is a special case. There was a precedent there. No government has been able to successfully return itself in power. Ekiti prides itself as the home of where you have the largest number of professors. Some of them were saying their governor is a streetwalker. He has his own brand of politics. But if we look at critically at some of the issues
some people say it's down to earth, he's a grassroots man.
He's a grassroots man any day. He's a grassroots man if you follow his politics. He has his own weaknesses as a man. Every man does. But he's a grassroots mobilizer. I tend to suspect that this election was more about his political clout and then the government at the center.
What do you mean by that?
Because people said he's been bragging that he was saying he has the power to return his deputy, who was standing in as the PDP standard bearer, to come in. And then the government at the center were saying they're going to make him meet his political Waterloo.
That suggests that there may be some form of ringing, as is being alleged.
But because
by many.
Ekiti State Broadcasting Service, as we speak, was handed down suspension by NBC indefinitely. Why? They were transmitting the results live on the day of the election. And going by that, if you tally what they were transmitting, you will say that a particular political party was leading, and that particular political party was not announced as the winner.
Which from the broadcast they were doing?
From the PDP was leading. So these are issues that when you put them in perspective, you will begin to suspect what happened.
And now that broadcasting station has been shut down
by NNPC, by NBC, that they don't have the power to announce results, which is okay. Statutorily, it's INEC that is legally mandated to announce results. But
they didn't declare.
They didn't declare.
Declaration is different from saying
live transmission of what is happening.
Say my agent. Journalists have the right to observe elections. I'm an election observer, so I know all the rules and regulations. If I observe, I can say this is what I've observed.
And remember that
does not make it official.
And remember that this same INEC reneged on some of its promises prior to the election. They promised to transmit results electronically.
And that is what we were working towards during the last administration. I give kudos to Professor Tahiru Jega. He was really working towards that to make sure that election that is, result at polling unit immediately is known to every person.
In this age of technology.
And is transmitted. And in fact, at the beginning of the administration of this present man,
Mahmoud
Yakubu, I thought it was a pilot test somehow in a Edo election also, when I know an engineer in INEC who traveled, and I said, why did you travel? Yeah, you are not an election monitor from INEC. He said no, that they are in a unit that is trying to experiment on how to be transmitting results directly from the polling unit straight to INEC headquarters, so that whatever is being done or be declared in the state, they have no statistics either to corroborate to know whether it's...
Kaduna modeled it in their last local government election, though it came with its own hitches. But in this age of technology, that's where we should be going. INEC promised that. I listened to the INEC Commission on Voter Education, one Mr. Solomon Soye, weeks before this election. He boasted on what they were going to do. They are going to activate the card reader. But even in this election, we had instances where the card reader malfunctioned.
Exactly.
Even the standard bearer of APC, Kayode Fayemi, the wife could not be the card reader had issues with the wife. The same thing
even
with
Professor Leka.
Professor Leka himself, the standard bearer of PDP. And so, for how long do we keep repeating these things? You promise us heaven and earth, and then on the day of the election, and instances, these things will happen in pockets of places where a particular political party is alleged to be popular, and you begin to ask what is happening.
That's another angle. Now, Kano.
Yes, sir.
Do you suspect some foul play?
What is happening is purely political calculation.
Yeah. Now, we especially with the number of policemen and other sister security agencies that were deployed, do you suspect some foul play?
For me, what I saw is...
Now, if viewers can see what we are showing in the screen now, you can see now, does this not suggest that a war is about to start, and people don't have mind, will not allow their children to go out on a day like this?
Nobody can.
When before election day, security men are deployed in this very manner. You see, everywhere. You can see the television. Then, if I don't have mind, will I allow my child to go out? If anything, there's a spark of violence in a situation like this, only God knows who will survive.
That's right.
So, and this can easily lead to voter apathy. So, now, yes.
Now,
do you suspect foul play? Because now, so that you will answer me very well, you had a senator that was speaking in the floor. He's saying that Nigeria police is used to carrying out this kind of eye service type of job now to please those in authority.
Yes. Over time, security personnel in this country don't know that their allegiance is to Nigerians first, and to the Constitution. Their allegiance is not to the government of the day. They pay more allegiance to the government right now.
Okay, right now.
In fact, over time, the security personnel in this country, what they do is, whichever government that is
they pay allegiance to them.
They pay allegiance to them. And they have been used in so many instances. And like I was saying before now, that what happened in Ekiti is just a political calculation. That, look, right now with most of the problems we have in the middle belt or north central, most of the states are not likely to vote for APC. And as a result, since Southwest is our stronghold, let's ensure that all the states in the Southwest, we are physically on ground as the ruling party, because that will help us in manipulating.
You are using that will help us. Are you?
I mean, that will help them. That will help them to manipulate whatever they want to manipulate.
Preacher's language.
Exactly. It will help them to manipulate whatever they want to manipulate to be able to win the Southwest. That is why, with addition to some of the things we have said, that he has been very, very outspoken, and he has bragged he was going to win and all of that. He said, I am rock. And anybody that jump rock, that person will fall. Crush, so it will be crushed. He has said so. So with all these things
that Fayose lose election does not mean it's no longer a rock. So
we're not talking as if Fayose that stood for the election.
What I'm actually saying is that
it's not even Fayose that stood for the election. It's Professor Leka.
Exactly.
It's
But what I'm saying is that some of the things that he has done has an implication. To the flag bearer of the party. Since they are from the same party and the man is his deputy. And this is the man he projected as the person to be voted for. So as a result of all this,
the question again is, from the feelers we are getting, Professor Leka says he's going to the court.
Exactly.
That he's so sure that he won. He said many party agents were driven out. from their station,
collation
centers.
Yeah.
So, and whatever took place there, only God knows. And he also said some of the police stations where the party agents were not driven out, the result sheet they were given is different from what was announced in after collation. Is different from what their agent brought to them, is different from what was announced on air. So, which means he's so confident that there was ringing, and the IG of police issued a statement congratulating the police that they did very well they have done so far very well in Edo State election and Ekiti election. I'm from Edo State, and the kind of manipulation of election in Edo State was so glaring. It was on tape everywhere. People were complaining, but at the end of the day, well, we have to leave it as it is. Now, that's why I'm saying, from what you can see, does it cross your mind that there could be a ringing somewhere?
There were rigging. Obviously, from some of the video clips, I was not on ground.
Yes.
But from some of the things we saw,
and the comments of people,
media,
some people that were there,
yes, shows that there was rigging. This morning, in Sunrise Daily, a senator called Ayo Arase acknowledged that PDP were the one that started buying votes. And as a result, the ruling party should not have sat aloof without doing anything. So they also responded. And someone
said they used bullion van to bring money to
exactly.
Some
we saw
said
all of
they used helicopter.
We saw all the pictures of all this.
Somebody called me from one state and said it's an election observer that they use helicopter to bring cash
to Akure. From Akure, they took it with bullion van. So they say PDP were giving 4,000 and then APC were giving higher. What I'm actually saying is that with regards to this allegation of buying of votes from both parties in Ekiti, shows that politicians in Nigeria, what they do is to make sure that we remain perpetually poor. So that during the elections, they can use, 4,000. How much do you use in fueling your car?
They ensure that we are
perpetually poor,
so that
during the election, they give you that small money to buy your vote.
Now, let's stop at this point, observe a little break, and we'll come back. Viewers, stay tuned. We'll be back.
Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN, is your most reliable gospel TV station that brings to you quality TV programming which build your spiritual life and enhance your walk with God through the undiluted Word of God. Join us on our social media platforms anytime you miss your favorite program. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with the address www.youtube.com/ACNNTV and click that video that matters to you.
Protect your vote is a euphemistic way of saying do everything to make sure you can share blood, you can kill, to ensure that the person you voted for is the one that emerged as a winner at the end of the day.
There is never a dull moment on our Facebook page, as we are dedicated to keep you informed with the up-to-date news about the church and other information. Just log on to www.facebook.com/ACNNTV, for you can now watch some of our programs live on your mobile device. Follow us on Twitter with the handle @ACNNTV.com, and you'll be glad you did. So now, there is no longer regret each time you miss any episode of your favorite programs, as you can now watch them on the go, anytime, anywhere. ACNN. We are indeed reaching the world with the undiluted Word of God.
Viewers, we welcome you once again, and it's good to know that you are always there. And we also commend your contributions. It is for the good of this very country. Let every person continue to speak out. That is what democracy represents. we must speak. We must correct the ills of the society. Now, back to Ekiti election. I still have with me in the studio a brother, an epidemiologist by training, a social affairs commentator, Chukwu Ebuka Ejikam with me, and the Reverend Canon Smart Simon, a priest in Abuja diocese, and also somebody who is seriously interested in the welfare of people in this very country. They are here with me. Now, let's take off with the issue of vote buying. This was a major challenge in Anambra election, but it's like it has been upscaled. We were expecting that in the Ekiti election, this thing will be checked, because INEC was already saying they are trying to do something about buying and selling of vote. You know, really, it's an electoral offense.
Yes.
It's an offense.
Yes, it's an
a
offense.
vote or to even sell. It's an electoral offense.
But no one has been arrested.
Why is it that nothing has been done? Let me start with you there and go back to Kano.
For me, I would think it's for the institutions mandated to enforce the law.
Now, is the police really disappointing Nigeria from all front? Because I was on ground in Anambra, and there was a particular police unit where election was going on, and right at the front, people were giving out money. And when you want to vote, you, after vote, on printing, something that was supposed to be secret ballot, something, you raise it up to show it to the people, so that they will know, yes, you voted for them. And you go from the booth straight to them, and they give you your money. And so now, one of the old women could not have that. So when she raised up her paper, and the man was not, he was saying, Una, look at me now before I drop the paper. And all that the police could do was to, one of them got up and said, gentlemen, it's not good what you people are doing like this. So, you know, this is supposed to be an offense. So even when you are doing it, you should not just be doing it in our face like this. I was so disappointed.
So you see the problem with having weak institutions, and that's the bane of our country. You know, earlier on we are talking about INEC. We are talking about the fact that it will appear every institution will dance to the whims of the government in power. When you don't have institutions that pay allegiance, first of all, to the country and to the constitution of the country, these things are bound to happen. That's why some people are clamoring for constitutional reform. In an instance where the president, the CEC, is the one who appoints the IG, who appoints the INEC chairman, somehow, some people will begin to suspect that there will be some level of bias. In public health, let me speak from a public health perspective. When you are conducting a research, you will be asked to show forth every likelihood that there will be bias introduced into this study, so that when you are analyzing, you avoid every confounders. When you have police IG that has become the mouthpiece of the government, defending what the government is doing, when you have other allied institutions that are paying their allegiance to the CEC, policemen are bound to act this way when they go to the field to observe the election. You said it's an offense. Why didn't the policeman arrest those people there? I also have issues with the electorate, because we keep saying this. We've known the way of politicians. They will always be politicians. Whether by hook or by crook, they will want to get themselves there. Nobody wants to leave power. Power is taken. Power is not given. Nobody wants to leave it. But why would a man want to sell his destiny or his future for the next 4 years?
Don't you think it's ignorance?
Is ignorance
or poverty?
Is ignorance coupled with poverty? Now,
talking about the level of poverty, I saw somebody in the National Assembly this morning, and he used to work as one of the cleaners, but has been sacked, and is no longer having a job. He just walked to me and was saying, Chaplain, please, can you help me? He said, do you see this cloth I'm wearing and this shoe? I have been on this cloth and this shoe for the past 4 days. He said, I went out and I came back and I meant that my landlord had put another padlock on my door. And what am I owing? 10,000. He said he has been sleeping in the street for the past 4 days because he has no 10,000 to pay. If such a person see somebody who will give him 4,000 just for printing the paper and dropping it in the box.
You see,
don't you see Nigeria have been made vulnerable?
We get back to the promises of the ruling party to revitalize our economy. When you corrupt a political process, it's equally corruption. So these are the issues that are emanating from what happened in Ekiti. But I was talking about vote buying and then the implication, the correlationship with poverty.
Okay.
The tragedy is that in these same states, you will see old people, pensioners who have not been paid. You will see people who have not gotten their salary. And then, because of poverty, you're able to mortgage your future just for a piece of bread.
Now, let a pastor speak on this, because we need to secure our tomorrow. Can you use the issue of Esau, how he sold his birthright because of porridge?
Yes.
Can you use it to advise Nigerians?
Esau went for hunting, and by the time he came, he was hungry. And as a result, he requested for bread from his brother. And the brother, Jacob. And Jacob said, if you want me to give you bread, you will first of all do something for me. Will you sell your birthright to me so that I can give you bread? And Esau, without thinking of the implication, decided to say, what will my birthright do to me? Just give me.
When I'm hungry.
Yes, and he collected and ate. And later he cried because the blessings meant for firstborn was taken over and given to Jacob. So what these people are doing is selling their future for 4,000. I mean, before another election,
the future of their children,
the future of their children, great-grandchildren, for 4,000. Because
so wait now. So part of what they have sold, okay, there's let's hold on. We'll come back to Evangelist Daniel from Kwara State. Is calling.
Morning, sir.
Evangelist, go on.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm speaking from Kwara State.
Yeah.
I want to make a suggestion, sir.
Okay.
What I see in Nigeria election is that both Christian and Muslim, they should warn all the Muslim and Christians in the church and mosque on how to vote. They should warn them on issue of collecting money before voting. If we continue collecting money before voting for our choice,
Daniel, let's not use money.
We can never get the right person.
Daniel, let's not
what
use
we are focusing on is money. We are not voting for the right choice. And if this thing continues, Nigeria, we are not going anywhere because it cannot help us. I suggest that both the Christian and Muslim to use this thing as a lesson in the mosque and in the church to warn their people on how to vote on election day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for calling in. I was just trying to say we should change the language warning, because there are some languages and some things that are not consistent with democratic life. We have no right to warn somebody on how to vote. I think maybe let's use the word to educate the voters about the grave implication of what they are doing when they sell their vote. To that I was trying to say before Evangelist Daniel called in. He said we should warn the electorates in churches, in mosques, and all that about the grave implication of what they are doing by selling their vote. I was saying that in that 4,000 you collected, you have also sold good road that you would have used for the next 4 years. You have sold good school. You have sold your good medical care. Because that is what Esau experienced. All the good things, the blessing that would have come with the right of firstborn was taken away missing because of a pot of porridge that they took from Jacob.
And even for posterity now, we say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
It's not Esau. You talk about the children of Israel, the 12th tribe of Israel.
And you talk of Jacob.
You talk of Jacob, Esau is nowhere to be found.
Esau has eaten his porridge. So
he has eaten his future.
Yes, he has eaten his future. That is what many Nigerians are doing to themselves.
That is the implication of this issue. We must not mortgage our conscience for a pot of porridge.
For peanuts.
Poverty, like I was saying the other time, that report by Brookings Institute tells us that Nigeria even overtook India. 87 million Nigerians. That Nigeria is the current world capital of poverty. That 87 million Nigerians are in poverty.
So this is not about I reject it in Jesus' name.
No, you can't reject it.
Every minute, according to that report, every minute, 6 Nigerians are drawn back into the poverty line. And so in an instance like this,
every minute,
as we are speaking here, as we are speaking
hold
here.
on, Solomon from Benue. Go ahead, Solomon. Solomon is calling from Benue.
It will still repeat itself in 2019, whether you like it or not. So the idea of saying somebody just said we should want or this thing is a mindset. It's an individual mindset. Everybody, you have to, believe what is becoming tyranny. This government is becoming tyranny. They are claiming that PDP did it last year. So this is what Buhari was telling us, that he's a man of integrity. The president is a man of integrity. But what is happening? Things have changed now. Christians or Muslim, whatever, will repeat in 2019 if we don't take our destiny in our hands. It's too bad. It's too pathetic. This is the government that came in and was telling us that there is a phenomenon in the platform of change. Have they really changed anything? Have they really done anything new? I think this government will be worse than that of the PDP if care is not taken. Brutalizing people, changing electoral this thing. This is supposed to be transmitted electronically, but everything is changing. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. He's saying that this government is worse than PDP government. That is what Solomon is saying, and that people are being brutalized, that some of the steps that were taken and forward during the PDP government is like we are taking some step backward. That is left for Nigerians to judge.
I can share in that sentiment because this government came with a whole lot of goodwill to change things. I mean, giving justification that the reason why you are doing the things you are doing now is because PDP did it, it's uncalled for. The other time we heard the presidential spokesperson, Adeshina, comparing the number of deaths under PDP with the number that is dying now. I mean, it's uncalled for.
They're here to correct the wrong.
The change is that the mantra of change was that once
people were dying during PDP, we don't want death again.
Die. Even if it's one soul. You know, sometimes, because we use statistics a lot in public health.
If people were buying votes during, let them know, that's supposed to be
sometimes we lose the human angle. When these numbers are mentioned, 11 dies here, 11 dies, we just take them as numbers. But the implication is that a woman somewhere has lost the husband and she's become a widow. A boy somewhere has become an orphan because the breadwinner is late. So when we put this human angle to this death, we are no longer
that takes me back to the message I preached in National Assembly this morning before coming to the studio. The implication of what is happening, all these deaths in the country, just talk about whenever a man dies, it's either a father or a brother to somebody or a husband to somebody. So somebody has become a widow. Somebody has become fatherless. And
somebody has lost a brother.
The means of income for that very family is gone. And there's likelihood that if proper care is not taken, some of those children will grow up to become nuisance in the society.
They will not
then the implication it has for tomorrow. A small child lost the mother, and after from some few months of mourning, he came to the father and said, "Daddy, Kai, oh, death is very bad. Oh. This my mother's death paid me for body. 10 years old boy, this my mother's death paid me for body." And the father said, "Well, that is it, that is life." And the child said, "Hey, I wish I can see somebody." They say, "This is the person who killed my mother." Whether it's Mr. Death or whoever they call, I wish I can point for. They say, "This is the person who killed my mother." He say, "What I will do?"
He's looking for justice.
He say, "The many ear go hear him." So the father now said, what will you do? He said, I will leave the person for about 4 years so that the person will think that everything is okay. That matter has been swept under the carpet. He said, and I will come out to come and resign.
Strike.
To come and strike. That time, people, it will not be suspecting. That is when I was. So that is my worry.
We have so many people who are taking vengeance at the society because they have this sense of injustice meted out to them by the society that they're supposed to call their own. And it's a vicious cycle. Like I said the other time, the tragedy in all this is that Nigerians suffer.
Now, hold on. Reverend Oyebuchi from Sabogidaura is calling in, and that is very close to where those 4 policemen were killed.
I say,
Reverend, speak
the
up.
problem of collecting money for elections, for voting, is an ignorance. And it's not that they are not taught, because one evangelist that spoke a few minutes ago said that they need to teach. They said that they are not taught. I remember vividly that in one of my stations, I taught the people and I told them that they need not collect money because God is saying that they should not do so. Friday before the election, and they went there, they collected, those that collected the wrapper, 4 years of, what is it called? The wrapper, and PDP gave some 4,000. And when the election got, the person that won, who is in the office now, came up with the problem on ground, and every of them were shouting. What I'm trying to say is that we should go down to the grassroots to let our people know that the money you collected today is your problem for tomorrow, and that God is not even in support of it. Because you see that we sell ourselves, like somebody said, when Esau was selling himself to Jacob, and he's right, he didn't know. He saw it as a little thing. It's not just a word. But that word has power. So we should let people know, people more especially the Christian folk, to know that the word today means much for tomorrow.
Thank you very much for calling in, Oyebuchi. It's a reverend from Sabogidaura Axis, and it's still happening on this issue of vote buying and the implications for tomorrow, that we need to go to the grassroots and begin to talk to our people, pastors, imams, all the opinion leaders, royal fathers, NGOs, civil societies. They should educate the people about the implication of vote buying. Yeah.
Another implication
yes.
to vote buying is this. How did the politician who is buying the vote get his own money?
That is, now, if there's supposed to be some civil society who track election, the use of money in campaign financing. And I don't know what some of these people are doing. And EFCC is supposed to go after these people because it's a financial crime for you to go and carry money and come and be distributing it to induce people on election. This is a financial crime. These are
the things about weak institutions that we've talked about.
Exactly.
When institutions are not...
Yes, somebody was telling me, if you saw the EFCC chairman with the logo of APC on his clothes.
As usual. Nothing has changed.
Lapel.
Something lapel. Buhari for 2019.
It's over.
And he's head of an institution.
Is it not Buhari that appointed him? Is the president that appointed him? What do you expect?
A National Assembly stepped down.
That's the issue about...
Now, what I'm actually trying to say is that if the person contesting is a government official, it's either the money meant for project has been hijacked and he waited for this election and share it to people so that they will return him to power, or he has collected loan because I learned that politicians collect loan from bank as if it's a business. You go to bank, you collect loan, and then you come, you buy votes from people. The implication is that when you are in position, When you are in power,
you pay your debt
you
first
will
to the bank
recover all the debts.
and pay the interest.
Exactly.
Pay the interest and everything, then have your own.
And gather your profit.
And that is why a common politician who does not have anything before he was elected, before you know, he have houses all over. He have cars, expensive cars in the world, in his house. How did he get the money? Is it just his salary?
A bank that does that, shouldn't that bank be sanctioned by EFCC because it's a collaborator in evil?
You know, I keep
No, you come to me, you want loan, I will give you for your own business.
What are you looking
I
for?
keep going back to this issue. It's foundational. This issue of having weak institutions, we can't overemphasize it. Why is it that institutions that are statutorily mandated to do things don't do it?
They don't do it.
How do we, now quickly, time is against us. How do we solve the problem of weak institutions?
For me, there has to be some form of constitutional reformation.
Okay, which means that goes back to the National
Assembly. I don't like a situation where it is the CEC that appoints people in some sensitive places. Like I said, their bias and allegiance and their prejudice will be to the man who appointed them. Why can't we have the Chief Justice of the Federation appoint the chairman of INEC? Why can't we have other
because the Chief Justice of the we don't need any election.
We don't need any election. It comes up by rank within the judicial process. That person, when he's there, he appoints, and then there are other peers with him that peer reviews whoever is appointed. But now, when a president does these things, he appoints his brother, and that his brother, because he's eating, that is his source of meal. We not want that president to lose. These are issues that we need to begin
whether
to
his brother is or not his brother. Once he's the one that put food on his
your table, you wouldn't want to lose
everything.
We need to strengthen our institutions.
And again,
now as you are talking, almost is virtually your last word. So, make the point and add your last word.
Okay, we must ensure that the power of the president with regards to appointment is reduced.
Okay.
The idea of Controller General, the president will just come and appoint anybody. We should stop it. It has to be, as you grow up in rank, the next in line of succession should become in police, in army. Yes, should become. Not that it's going to be appointed wherever you want.
Just hold on. There's a text. It said Buhari collected all the Sultana's money and now using the money to buy those who are not dead to kill them later. Oh my God. So this is an anonymous text. I wish I know who sent this very text. It's making some terrible points. I used to call it terrible point because if there is facts in what the person has said, it's unfortunate.
The onus is on the president to act presidential. I mean, he contested for this post 3 times, and then on the 4th attempt, he got it. Nigeria is our country. We don't have any other patrimony. We don't have any other heritage, even to live for posterity. So he has to act presidential. 2019 is by the corner. If you militarize it...
What's your last word?
My last word...
For 2019.
For 2019, Nigerians should not be discouraged, especially with recent things, because I've seen people agog in the social media saying we are tearing our PVC.
I saw one call me and say somebody broke his PVC. I said that is even more dangerous.
It's more dangerous because the strategy will be to discourage you so that you do that. Rigging cannot happen if you don't give them that leeway to operate. So let's get our PVC and do the right thing. Then INEC should rise up to their responsibility. Very important. It was Joseph Stalin.
Your last word.
Yes. Let me say this, please, in ending. Joseph Stalin said something, that the people who cast the vote decide nothing. That the people that decide everything are those who count the vote.
Who count the vote?
The people who cast the vote decide nothing. The people who count the vote decide everything.
So now we need to pay more attention to vote counting.
Vote counting. INEC should be transparent in counting so that people will know that.
Thank you very much. What's your last word?
Let us not be discouraged because of the outcome of Ekiti election. Keep your PVC and use it in 2019. But we should begin to strategize on how to make our vote count. I think we can begin by making vote count campaign and awareness. Okay.
There's need for civil societies and every other person to key into that. So thank you very much for coming, Reverend Smart. Reverend Colonel Smart Simon. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to be here. And Ejika,
Our people should also act civil. When you feel that your right is trampled upon, don't take to the street. Use the law court.
That is the last word.
Yes. last word.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Viewers, we want to thank you for being there. And that is where we'll draw the curtain today. And certainly, God keeping us alive, will come your way once again next week and come up with another interesting episode. But while we do that, make sure you do not destroy your PVC because of what happened in Ekiti, and get ready for 2019. And before then, I think more sensitization will be done on the issue of buying a vote and making sure that vote counts. I know INEC knows that people are watching, and they will not go free with any crime. So INEC will do what is right. So once again, we come your way. I am Venerable J.O. Unwanya, your host.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and viewers and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN.